Hello, and welcome to Empowered the Podcast. My name is Linda, and I am your host. I am an empowerment coach, a spirit junkie, a realtor, a proud mom, and a dog mom. I'm also an animal advocate, a child advocate, and someone that overcame a lot of challenges and trauma in my life. This podcast is packed with powerful content, inspiring conversations with amazing guests who will help you heal, grow, and evolve into a better version of you so you can attract in your best and most empowered life. I don't know about you, but I'm not here for mediocrity. I'm here for an abundant, blessed life. Life does not have to be so hard. That is an old program. We can do less and attract more, and I know this to be true. I love bringing you this powerful information. I hope you enjoy, learn, and grow. Have a beautiful day. Hello, and welcome to Empowered the Podcast. I am your host, Linda Brand. I'm so glad you're here. I created this podcast because I overcame a lot of challenges, negativity, trauma, and toxic ways of living and thinking in my life. I've learned how to live in joy, how to be present, how to focus on the good, and how to let go of things that no longer serve me, and how to live my best life. I'm bringing you amazing guests who will inspire, motivate, and educate you on all things living empowered. Health and wellness experts, law of attraction experts, spiritual mindset coaches, and other powerful people. We are going to help you live a happier, healthier, better life and transform your life from the inside out. I'm excited to bring you these powerful conversations. Let's live empowered together. Well, welcome to Empowered the Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Gabrielle Jacobson. She is a new coach with a passion for growth and development. After studying physics at the University of Oxford, she discovered her calling as a solution-focused life coach, and she's dedicated to helping ambitious individuals transform their aspirations into concrete actions and a path to success. Welcome, Gabrielle, to the show. Please share a little bit about you and your background and where you are in the world, because you have a beautiful accent, and I want everyone to know.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me and inviting me onto your podcast. I'm so excited to be here and to speak to you. I know it's going to be a really good conversation.
It's my pleasure. I love young people and I love what you're doing. It's passion work for me as well. So I love to share other coaches and what you're doing and just inspire people.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit about me. I always find that a really hard question because then I start thinking, well, how do I identify?
Where did it all begin for you? You said something, I read a little bit, that you were in college, you were a high achiever, and then what happened there? Like, that's kind of where the pivot came in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my whole life, I have had very high expectations of myself. I know a lot of people experience that in childhood, especially when things can be marked, right? So throughout school, I performed really well. And so I started to have these expectations of I should always be performing at that standard, no matter what. And it all came to a bit of a turning point at university for me, being in Oxford, surrounded by the most amazing people. And suddenly I couldn't hit those expectations. And I didn't know how to go about working through that, about prioritizing and realizing that I didn't have to meet those expectations all the time. And I hit a low point in second year, and I thought, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. I don't want to feel like this. This isn't working. And I dived into the world of development and psychology. I read any book that I could get my hands on because that's all I knew for learning things. And I found this whole world. And from there, it just grew and grew and grew.
You fell in love with it, right? You fell in love with it. Is there spiritual, that some of the books spiritual too? Do you incorporate?
Absolutely. I think I do it in a slightly different way. And I think that's coming from a place where I was studying physics.
Mm.
And I actually spent a while trying to work out how to balance those two things. I read a lot of books on manifesting and they really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was specializing in astrophysics. So the idea of putting energy into the universe, I couldn't quite marry with what I was learning at university.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What were you studying at school? What were you going for? What was your degree going to be in?
Yeah, I specialized in astrophysics. So I spent 4 years studying the universe and the solar system and planets and stars. And at the same time, I was reading books on manifesting and crystals, and that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I spent a couple of years trying to work out how to pair the two together.
Tell us some of the books that some of the authors that you were reading.
The manifesting book that I keep coming back to is by Roxy Narfusi. It's just called Manifest.
Okay. Have you looked at any of the Gabby Bernstein books?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, I will share a gift with you to check her out because she has all amazing books. She's like the queen of manifesting, and she has a podcast. Super Attractors, the one main book on creating your reality with, manifesting. So go ahead. So you were you studying, like, do you know of Joe Dispenza? Because he kind of takes the spirituality and the science and brings them together, as well as Kathy Heller.
Yeah. I've seen some of his work.
Yeah.
I've listened to lots of podcasts trying to bring those two together. I found that there's loads of different answers out there. There's so many explanations.
There is, yes. Have you listened to any of my podcast episodes?
I have done.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love listening to your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us how you're helping people. I know that you're volunteering and helping people at the college. So are you still in college, or?
I graduated a couple of years ago. And now what I'm doing is I'm working with people who are just about to go to university. So they're studying for their A-levels. That's the final exams that you take in school here in England. And they're deciding what to do in the future. So some of them are looking at university, some of them are looking at completely different paths. And I really enjoy working with them and working out what their ambitions are, and then brainstorming loads of options on how to get there.
I love it.
And creating that plan.
Yeah, because so many kids don't know what they want to do, and that's just okay. You don't have to know, and the parents have a lot to do with the programs and the programs, right? Like, were your parents high achievers, or were the expectations for you to be, was that there's some pressure, family for you?
Yeah, my parents were definitely high achievers. And I have an older brother who absolutely amazing and so clever. So as a family, I think we identified as being very intellectual. And whatever you identify with, you become and feel like you have to be. That identity is so important. Yeah. And so important in what you do and think.
But what we learn through all these books is that we are not these external things. We are not our grades, and we are not our degrees and all of those things. If you listen to some of my podcasts, you may have saw that, people, this is very common what you're telling me, where these kids, and they're just like, they have a breakdown at some point because they just can't take it anymore, the pressure, and to just do, and, there's no joy anymore. But
exactly. And that's exactly what happened with me at university, because I just couldn't do it. I could not get to those top grades that I was expecting of myself whilst doing all of the extracurriculars that I was expecting of myself.
Right.
And exactly as you said, you reach a breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
the turning
point for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That this isn't working.
And now it's like that negative, what's perceived to be negative might be a very big gift and blessing, because now you're found your path and now you want to help all these people. And it's so huge. And I don't know if you listened to the episode I had with the author. She's a former teacher principal. Why Me, What Now? She wrote the book, Why Me, What Now? Anyway, did you listen to that one where she had two students, or one student that killed himself? Yeah. And I mean, it's just a tragedy, but it's very, that's like just a horrible thing to have happen when like you're doing all the things to stop that by saying, listen, it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, and what are your interests. And, I remember hearing a podcast once where this guy, he was a parent and he was really smart. And he said, anybody that asks a teenager, what do you want to be when you grow up? He's like, that is not a good question. He's like, you need to ask them, what are your interests? What do you enjoy? Like, not what do you want to be? Because like, they don't know all the jobs out there and stuff.
Oh, no. If somebody told me, even 3 years ago, that I would be life coaching, I would have looked at them and I've gone,
I know.
What's that?
I know, right? Because like for me, 2 years ago, I was living in Michigan, real estate. If someone said, you're going to be living in Florida, you're going to have a podcast and be I would be like, what? A podcast? That's crazy. But so what is in the future for you? You're starting out, you've got some clients and you're building your brand and your specialty. So do you see yourself doing a podcast in the future, or what do you see yourself doing?
Well, see, the social media part is very, very new to me. I don't even have a personal Instagram. So this is my first foray into the social media space.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm just focusing on learning and growing and developing my skills. And hopefully next year, I'll be able to get some more clients and work with them and just keep growing and see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. It's an entrepreneurial journey and there's a lot of, failures, but that's what's expected. And you just have to, like for me, this is my purpose work. So these small wins are so huge. Like I was coaching some clients and for free, and then they gave me testimonials in return. And I got these testimonials the other day and I was like, oh my God, that made my day. Like it was just, oh my gosh, or just all these different things. And it's just wild because that's how you know you're doing your work. Or like this one client, she reached out to me, are we meeting? And I was like, oh my God, she made my day that she wanted to meet me, and so it's just amazing because like they say, you won't work a day in your life if you're doing your purpose work and so how are you helping these people, these young people that don't know what they want to do?
So it so depends on the person, right? Everyone's got a different way of working and a different way of learning. But what I want to teach them is how to coach themselves. So probably comes from me being a scientist at heart. I really, really love coaching models. And that's what I thrive on myself. And that's what I like to pass on. So I try and teach them how to work through problems. So when you do have a goal, how do you go through where you're at, put out your options, plan a way forwards? How do you do that so that we can do it together once, but for all of the other problems they come to in life, they have that strategy to come back to. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I teach them to do that I think is so important really, really early on is how to reflect and change. I think we were speaking about that, how you don't know what you want to do. Things can change so massively in just a few years, in less than that now, especially when you're in these massive transitional phases, like going off to university or leaving university. They're huge life changes. And you can't expect your goals to be exactly the same the whole way through, or even your values to be the same the whole way through. Things can change drastically. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget, that it can change, and that's fine.
It is. It's all fine. All of it's fine, you know? And I just learned that too. I had a live yesterday. Did you hear where the woman was sharing about she went to her therapist and said all these things that she did? And he's like, so what? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, we're just our worst critics and we're always so hard on ourselves. But the reality is, you know, we're human beings and we make mistakes, and it's okay. It's all okay. And you try something and you just explore. But I think that it's amazing when somebody knows when they're like 4 or 5 years old what they want. And like, that's just so amazing. But it's not everybody, you know, like my son, you know, his dad wanted him to be a doctor. So from a very young age, he was told he was going to be a doctor. And then, you know, he had his own experience in college, and then he ended up going a different route, which I kind of encouraged because he was a high level math, and I had him, and my clients were engineers. And anyway, he ended up going engineering, and he doesn't enjoy that, but he did get a degree and he has it to fall back on, but he's doing something completely different because it was so, and it's all fine. And, I mean, I'm super proud of him for getting the degree and getting through college and with honors and all the things, but you know, everything happens for a reason. But I think parents want the best for their kids, but sometimes they're really doing a disservice by putting the pressure and, you know, demanding.
Yeah, and it's so hard not to. It's so because you want the best for the people around you. And sometimes it's just really hard not to step in and try and guide people onto the path that you think is best.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Are there any books that you recommend to your clients, to the kids to help them? Is there any particular, or maybe journaling activity or something?
Yeah, absolutely. On journaling activities, definitely. There are a few different exercises that I actually learned at work. So in my 9 to 5, I'm a data scientist, and we do these exercises every month to make sure that we're still on track for our goals. And we ask ourselves 4 questions. So the questions are, what went well in the past month? What could have gone better? What ideas do we have to make things better? And what actions are we going to take to implement those ideas? So what I advise or invite my clients to do, or the students to do, is ask those 4 questions every week. And just look at the past week and think, what went well? What didn't go so well? How are we going to improve? And what actions are we going to take? And if it's good enough for Google and Facebook and all of these massive companies to do, I'm going to apply that to my life. Absolutely. No questions asked. I find it so helpful. And then you're always celebrating your wins and looking forwards. That's the journaling activity that's the first one that I recommend. And then books. There's a couple of different books that I really like, and I'll recommend depending on the situation. So the first one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read it?
Yeah, I have it. I didn't read it all, but I have it.
I love that book. And it's full of models and like really clear instructions for how to improve your habits. So definitely like that for people who think the same way as I do and like those tools and strategies.
Yeah.
Then Manifest.
What is the other one?
Manifest. I think Roxy Narfusi. I hope that's her name.
That's the one I have. Is it white with like gold dots on it?
The one that I have is orange, but it very much might
Okay.
be different in the UK and America.
Mine might be called manifesting or something. It's literally all the things like clearing space and all
Yeah,
the activities that help you
I
to
think it's the same one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a essentially step-by-step guide. I really like that. And it very much encourages you just to act and manifest through actions, which I absolutely love.
Oh,
And then the last one is, oh gosh, I've completely blanked.
I think yours is different. Yours the orange one? No, I don't have the orange one. Yeah. Oh, so you blanked out? That's wild because you're so young and it doesn't happen to young people like it does to me all the time. But
It
anyway.
very much does. Oh, and Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers.
Ooh,
I
feel
love that
the
book as well.
fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
And
never heard of that one.
like you were saying on your live yesterday, that's so what? Susan Jeffers has a phrase that she says all the time in this, and I'll handle it.
Mm,
Love that. It's like, okay, if things go wrong, I'll handle it.
yeah,
And
I
if
love
things go
that.
right, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
And whatever comes, I'll handle it. And I love that. And I've really taken that with me into my journey, starting out as a coach. So I'm there thinking, what if people start following me? I'll handle it.
Yeah. Oh,
That
if
book as
they
well.
stop following you, is that what you said? Or start following?
They start or anything.
Yeah, yeah,
This is entirely new to me and I'm learning so much. And
yeah.
I'm learning that whatever comes up, I can handle all of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that book. That one has been really, really helpful on this journey. So I
Yeah,
definitely recommend it.
yeah. I think you're going to be amazing. So let's see. Is there anything else you want to share or talk about? Let's see. So your books, where are you in the world? So you're in the UK, you said?
I'm in London right now. I've lived in the UK my whole life, but I've only been in London for a couple of years. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 24.
Oh, you're young, so young. My son is 25. Oh my goodness. Um, so how did you know this was going to be your next thing? How did you know that this was kind of like you wanted to pursue this? What?
Yeah, I think it's something that calls to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it creeping into my everyday life in a couple of ways. There was the books that I was drawn to and the podcasts that I was drawn to. And I realized that they were all going through these tools and strategies to overcome problems or to work towards goals. And then I noticed myself being able to answer the questions that they were putting out there before they said them. I was like, okay, maybe I'm getting a hand on this stuff. And it also creeps into your everyday life with how you start listening to people. And when I went onto the life coaching space on the internet, I just felt so at home.
Mm.
So I went for it with volunteering. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. And it felt so right. And you get that feeling of flow, don't you, when something feels right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I've been to retreats and I remember flying to Miami. Or no, I went to Chicago to Gina DeVee. Have you heard of her? Gina DeVee. She wrote the book The Audacity to Be Queen, and she has a podcast also called Divine Living. But I went there and I was having dinner with these women. I'm like, "Oh my God, these are my people. These are my people." And most of them were all coaches. And then I ended up going to Miami in 2021 December because two of the women that flew across the country to see her in Chicago were going 2 weeks later to Miami, and I was on the fence and I'm like, you know what? I have to go.
Yeah.
So I went, and that kind of changed my life because I ended up deciding I'm moving, and I relocated last year and across
Wow.
the country and changed my entire life. Yeah. And it wasn't, I mean, obviously I'm the one who made the decision and I took all the action, but there was a lot of fear. But ultimately, me going to these events and, investing in myself and all of the coaches I've hired over the years, I've just grown and evolved. And then since I've been in Florida, I have just grown even more. Like I'm literally manifesting constantly. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And you spoke about the fear there, and it's scary.
It was.
But when we take that jump, the growth and how much you learn from it is amazing.
When you jump, the net appears is what I'm, when you jump, the net appears. It's a be, do, have. Dr. Esther Zeladon was on my show, and she wrote a book called Creating Your Limitless Life. And she was one of these high achievers, grew up poor, the whole thing. And she ended up just being unhappy. Like, she's checking all the boxes. She got the degree, got married, all the things, and she was just not feeling it. And then she found the same type of work and she wrote the book. So again, she's that's her purpose, And I just love the message of, following those intuitive nudges, following that inner guide, right, that we all have. And I think it's going to help heal the whole planet, like, if you believe we're all connected. And when I help you, it's helping me. And when, you know what I mean? When I help myself, I'm helping you. You believe.
If we all followed that intuition and took those opportunities that the universe provides for us, exactly. You're right, the world would be such an amazing place.
Yes, exactly. So what are your dreams and goals?
To help as many people as possible. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. Do you have a boyfriend?
I do. He's upstairs.
Oh, nice. Good.
I do.
How did you two meet? How did you guys meet? I always ask.
We met on JSwipe, which is a Jewish dating app.
Okay. You're Jewish. I'm Jewish too. Oh my goodness. I didn't know that about you.
No, I didn't know about you either.
How long have you guys been together? I love it.
We've been together 2 years. He's shouted 2 years. 2 years on the 7th of November. So almost.
Good for you.
We've been living together for a year as well, which moved really quick. But like, taking those intuitive nudges, the timing was right for me needing to move out, him wanting to move out. It all felt right.
Lined up.
Yeah, and it does line up, doesn't it? When
That's what happened. Yeah, for me with relocating, my son was graduating college. He was relocating. It was time to sell my house. Financially, it made sense. All the things, and then I tried. Like I looked at apartments locally, and everything was the same price as Florida. And it was like, I cannot do the cold anymore. And I'm not walking. I had a new rescue dog. I'm like, we're not walking in the cold. If I'm gonna be in an apartment, I'm freaking going to Florida. And so, yeah, it was wild, but I'm super excited now. And everything's perception and perspective. And, because I lived in a house, I lived in Michigan my entire life, but then I lived in the same home for 25 years. And then now I'm going to be renting in an apartment. And I'm like, I had all this, like, what's it going to be like? And now I've been here a year and a half and it's great. And it's like a luxury hotel, but it's all perception and people thinking, oh, you're renting. Well, guess what? You can have your house over there and be freaking miserable and still live in scarcity and still have a mindset around scarcity. And I can be living here, having an abundant mindset and feeling wealthy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Perception, mindset, so important. It's so important, and it can completely change the way that you see the world.
Yeah, I've been working on my money stuff for years, and it's kind of like, you don't brush your teeth once and you're good for a week. You don't work out in the gym once and you're fit. You have to continuously do it. So if I grew up in this program of fear and lack around money and scarcity, even though they had money, but like my dad grew up in the Depression and it was this whole thing. So it was like, turn the lights off, turn the water, shut it off, and that was a big thing. So it's kind of like, probably from 0 to 7, I was programmed. Everything was fear and lack, and then the low self-worth too. Gabrielle, I've been dealing with that, and like having to build myself up for years to become this confident. It's wild because, people probably look at me and think, wow, she's so confident, but it wasn't always like this. I was I had no self-esteem, So, but anyway, I was just saying that like the programs that are parents, and it's not their fault, they're just, but, so it's unlearning, right? And then it's like I was saying, you have to keep doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Things can be programmed into your mind. And it's like the first time that I saw the power of NLP, of neuro-linguistic programming, was at university in a very negative way, in that we, at my university, split the people who got really good grades. So people who got a first, I don't know the equivalent in the US colleges, but it's the top grade that you can get. People who got the top grade, they're called scholars. And then anyone who doesn't get a top grade was called a commoner. So I spent my entire university life as a commoner, and it's
labeling you. Yeah,
exactly. It does not take long to internalize that. When I started reading all of these books and understanding NLP, and I was just like, this is so powerful. The language that we're labeled with, and the language that we label ourselves with, is so powerful. And I had to unpick that. And it's crazy how fast your mind can be programmed in that negative way.
Oh, yeah.
How long it took to unpick and unlearn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Relearn. So did you learn neuro-linguistic program? Have you learned the techniques? Are you like certified or anything?
I'm not certified. I've read a lot about it, and I'm hoping one day to be certified. That's one of my goals, is to be certified in NLP.
I should connect you to Sean Hill. She is in the UK also, Sean Hill, and she wrote the book, Activate Your RAS. You got to listen to that episode if you haven't. She's amazing.
I definitely will.
Yeah, she's amazing, and her book is amazing. And she's an NLP person, and she started out with, trying to manifest. She was in a miserable relationship. She had a job she hated, all the things, and her mom gave her the secret book, and she kept trying all the things and sitting in meditation and then it wasn't until she kind of learned about NLP that she could clear out stuff, and like she let go of the relationship, and she just stepped into a higher version. And it's wild.
Things like affirmations, I think, are so important, but it's not just saying the affirmations, it's starting to identify with them and believe them. And that it's so important to connect how you feel with what you're saying, even if you're having to put that on for the 10 seconds that you're saying the affirmation. You really need to feel it. And I love affirmations and visualizations, and going through, like, I like to visualize in the morning what a perfect day would look like, and really feel like things are going very well. And it's so much more impactful when you feel that emotion.
Feel it. Yes, that's part of it. It's a lot of it. It's feeling.
Yeah, but the words that we use, so important, so powerful.
Can you share your personal spiritual practice, like, or your morning practice, or like what your routine is that to support you? And do you do them every day, meditations and affirmations and visualizations, or journaling? Like, what do you do? What's your routine?
I wish I did them every day. I'll admit, now that it's getting absolutely freezing and really dark in the winter, autumn, I'm finding it a lot harder to stick to, but I try to give myself like at least an hour in the morning to do the most important task of my day, the most important thing for me, and then to sit and I visualize a day for only 3 to 5 minutes, and that I'll class as my meditation, and then I'm done. Because I can't sit for 20 minutes.
Same.
Exactly. Do a retreat, and I'm amazed that I managed to get through a retreat day. That was a really powerful experience, and I found that with someone helping me I can do a lot more, but in the mornings 3 minutes is enough for me. And then my journaling, I do it when I feel like I need to. when I feel like I've got a lot going on in my mind, I'll just free flow. But every week I will do a reflection and go through those 4 questions that we spoke about earlier. That's something that I'll definitely do every week.
So I have started writing a couple down. So it was what went well, what could have gone better, and then what was the other one? What could you have done differently?
The third one is, what ideas do you have?
Oh, what ideas?
Things for next week.
Okay.
That's just a brainstorm of everything that you can.
And then what was the fourth one?
What actions are you going to take?
Okay, what actions? I love that.
That's the plan. That's the bit that makes it all happen. So you have your opportunity to celebrate the things that did go well and appreciate the work that you put in. That's so important. And then you finish off with concrete actions and steps you're going to take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that keeping commitments to yourself is really a powerful way to.
So important. That's the one thing that I do consistently every morning. I've got an alarm clock that will only switch off if I take a picture of my kettle. That's my constant, because it's that commitment to yourself. I found that if I had an alarm that didn't require me to go all the way into the kitchen, then I would just turn it off and go back to bed. Mm-hmm. And then I'd get really annoyed because I haven't kept that commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing that you've said you're going to do in the day is get up at a certain time and you don't, I think that can be
like a failure.
Start to recover from.
Yeah, feel like you're So when is your birthday, Gabrielle? Like, are you an Aries or what's your sign?
I'm a Taurus.
Okay.
Birthday's at the end of April.
Okay. And do you believe in astrology stuff?
Not so much. I have tarot cards. That's how far I've gotten.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know much about astrology. I don't know like my moon rising.
Okay. So my moon is Virgo, but I'm an Aries, and I just learned so much when I had the astrologer on my show, and then we did a live together and she told me even more things. And I was just impressed because all these years I'm like, oh, I'm an Aries. And it's like, no, there's so much more to it because you got to have the moon and all these other factors. So it's wild, but I do believe in it. I think there's a lot of truth to it, but it's just interesting. It's so fascinating because there's so much to it. It's like the time you're born, where you're born. It's where the planets are. It's all this.
There is so much. There is so much to it. I think that's maybe one of the reasons because I haven't really explored it. And there is so much to explore. So I've gone down and explored tarot, which I really like tarot reading. And I think that there's a lot of truth behind tarot cards.
Really? Tell me why you think that.
I think there's the response that you have when you draw them. And I think that that's what the truth is. So
the energy that you have? Exactly.
And that response to whatever you draw. So if you ask a question like, should I stay in this relationship? And then you draw a card and you see that as, I need to move on. Or if you read it as, I need to stay and work on it. Or if you read that as, things will improve. It's how you read it can change quite a lot. And I think that that's the truth behind it because it allows you to question your thoughts. And it brings them to the surface. So I really like doing tarot cards.
That's neat. I haven't learned them, but I have like 12 to 15 card decks. They're mostly like spiritual cards. I have all of Gabby's cards. I have one card deck that you ask questions. It's called the Power of Surrender card. So you'll say, what do I need to surrender to attract a partner or whatever it is? Or what do I need to surrender to, attract new money or whatever. And then it'll say, like, in the cards, it'll say, like, surrender old limiting beliefs about yourself or old beliefs, or surrender your belief in scarcity, or so many beautiful things. And it's like, I love it.
Absolutely. And it gives you space, doesn't it? Because if you draw a card that says you need to surrender your limiting beliefs, then that gives you the space to start asking, what are your limiting beliefs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good. And they're just, I used to draw cards in the morning. I have a YouTube channel that you can watch and see some of the card readings that I was doing for people. And I would just, kind of, dear God, universe, higher power, spirit, source, show me, what cards we need to see today. And then it's like amazing because we'll see all these like really strong, positive messages. And I just think it's fun. And it's a nice tool. And Tosha Silver has some cards. But again, I didn't learn tarot. So you're learning tarot, or you already know tarot?
I wouldn't say that I know it. I have my little book of what all those cards mean.
Yeah.
I will refer to constantly when I'm doing readings. So I'm very much helped by the little book that it's explaining everything.
Yeah. I had a card reading from somebody recently. I mean, a few months back. It was really interesting. She recorded it too. So yeah, I've had a couple card readings. Seems pretty accurate. But yeah, it's fun. So you do your meditations in the morning, and what about the affirmations? How often are you doing those? Only when you need them?
I'll do them with my visualizations. So I like to, and this can take place at wildly different times throughout the day, but from the Millionaire Morning Routine, do have the to do, to be, and to feel lists. And I will write them down as affirmations. So that to feel like I am confident, I am organized. The one that I've liked at the moment is audacity. I like to say I am audacious.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me a lot of confidence throughout the day. So I'll do it in that.
Nice.
And that happens whenever I get a chance to. So it might be in the morning, it might be at the start of my work day. But at some point, I'll definitely write those.
I love it.
A morning routine is, whilst really important, something that I've kind of struggled to stick to consistently. I've started in the evenings writing down essentially a minute-by-minute guide of what I'm going to do the next morning to the letter, and it will change depending on what I have to do that morning. And that's really helpful, but that requires me to do it the night before. So I need to start getting into that habit. I think there's a lot that you can do. You can't all fit it all in.
Right. Tell us what your favorite habits out of the Atomic Habits book are.
The thing that I've taken with me most is the habit cycle. I think it's such an important thing to know. So there's a cycle, and he has 4 things in his cycle, but I use a slightly different one that has got 3. But Atomic Habits is what showed me that this habit cycle exists. And the 3 are a cue, a habit, and a reward. So, for example, checking your phone, that's a pretty clear one. You've got a cue in that you get a notification. And then you have the habit of checking your phone. And then you get the reward of a little dopamine rush.
Yeah.
And understanding that opens so many doors, because you realize, okay, you can break that at any stage, because you can break the cue, you can turn off your notifications.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do that often.
Yeah, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb pretty much constantly, because otherwise I'm in that cycle.
Yeah, and you're going to need to help your student, your clients with that, because, I grew up in a different time where we didn't have this, and having this, like, I try to put this away sometimes, but then I want to take a picture of my dog, or I want to look something up on a computer. And so I grab it, but I really don't want to deal with the tech, the texting or the communication. I just want it for, it's a camera. It's all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's everything. And there are tens of thousands of engineers and software developers and data scientists trying to get you to stay on your phone for as long as possible. And you can't compete. You cannot compete.
Yeah. So
understanding the power that you do have, which is things like turning off notifications, or putting your phone on grayscale, which I admit is too far for me, but that really lowers that dopamine response.
Yeah. Like I don't have an Apple Watch. This is the Fitbit, and my son, you have what?
I've got a Fitbit too.
Yeah. I just prefer, I don't really want to be that connected. As a person, since we're all different, like it drains me. The phone, like I find that it's draining energy. Like I like to be away from it. And I'm also like, fell in love with my own company. I've like worked on myself so much that I don't need, I have a dog and he's like a great companion, but I just don't, like, some people just have to always, I'm just saying, like, I'm good with myself. I do desire to create a relationship and meet the right person, but for now I'm good. And so I'm saying, like, some people, I don't know, they have to be, they can't be with themselves by themselves,
Was it always, out of curiosity, was it always like that for you? Were you always happy with your own company? Or is it something that you...
Yeah, no, I wasn't, because I remember when my son was younger and he would go with his dad on the weekend, on the every other weekend, and I would always have plans when I was well. I had a health condition that took me down. But anyway, when I was well, I used to always have to have plans, like keeping myself busy. Like I couldn't be alone with myself. And I've learned to now be happy and alone with myself. But I'm noticing some other people who don't have that, and they just, I don't know. I'm just really trying to be aligned and true to myself, my authentic self, and not allow other people's opinions, or like, maybe I'm sitting home on a Saturday and I'm happy reading my book with my dog and eating a pizza, when someone else is like, oh, that's so boring, you need to get out. But maybe this is my joy.
Yeah.
So I could have in my mind, like, oh God, you're home on a weekend, or something. You know what I mean? It's just I'm just working on not caring what anybody thinks. It's such a powerful thing, right? And like living your, because it's easy to look at like social media and say, oh, look at all these people having fun doing this and that, and feeling bad about yourself or something.
Yeah, that's why I had to get rid of Instagram. I only had Instagram for a short amount of time, because seeing everybody's highlight reels and measuring yourself up against that is so draining.
It's very toxic. It's not healthy.
No, it's not.
But you have Instagram for your work, I do now.
Yeah.
You have to.
Very careful with who I follow on it. And that's what I've learned. I've read books like Indistractable by Nirayal, which is an amazing book. Or is it by Cal Newport? It's by one of those two.
What's it called?
Indistractable.
Oh, wow.
And it's all about focus and how to stay focused. And I remember them speaking about social media and just like, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it entirely. And if you can't, then you need to start being very careful with how you use it and who you follow and what you take from it. And remember that it's a highlight reel, and have timers on your apps. And I realized that there's so much that we can do, and we need to accept that there's so many people trying to get us to stay on. So putting those defenses in place, so important. And if you feel like you need them, put them in place.
Yeah, I feel like the focus thing is gigantic, and because there's a constant email message, there's just constant people trying to, get your attention all the time. So it's really powerful to be able to just time block and, I'm going to do this and I'm not touching the phone, and, setting that up for yourself. So that's huge. I think it's really important. And I think, kids today just have to learn how to do that and not worry that, oh, someone's not going to like you because you didn't respond. It's okay.
Yeah. Focus is a superpower now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a skill that not a lot of people have, and it's so important to develop. And it's something that does require commitment to develop.
Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to a podcast where she had interviewed the author of Atomic Habits, and she said she tells the story to other people, and she says that when she asked him what is the number one habit that we should have, his answer was, that's easy, who you associate with. And that
Wow.
And that was so huge because I choose to be alone rather than being in company of negative complainers, victim mindset, because that's always what I seem to attract or have, and I can't do it. I just would rather not. I don't.
Yeah, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah, and your income's the average too. Your income's the average of the 5 people you associate with. So I'm in all these online communities of powerful women and entrepreneurs and spiritual minded, similar minded. And it's like we live all over the world and we're friends. And that's my friends. I mean, I have a couple people, but I feel like my son's one of my best friends, and he's high vibe and he's positive and he's spiritual and all the things. But like, that's pretty much, and I just have fun online, and that's, in the communities. But
yeah, the online space has given us that opportunity to find and meet and connect with so many amazing people from around the world, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying. At university, I stopped speaking to people. I cut off a lot of people that I spoke to in first year because I realized that they were contributing to these expectations, and I could not deal with it anymore, and I didn't want to. It was making me feel absolutely rubbish.
Good for you.
I stopped.
Notice. Yeah.
It's so difficult to do. It's so scary because then I was going back to university thinking I don't have anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a very scary place to be.
But what you learn is that the most incredible people and people who have done amazing things were just that. They were unique and different and didn't fit. And that's the truth. So, I think, there's a lot of huge high achievers that actually didn't fit in and had, so it's actually almost a criteria to succeeding at, and being special. Special.
Exactly. And they were people who had the courage to say, these aren't my people. And I'm not going to be with people who are not my community and who do not make me feel myself and let me be myself and perform at my best.
Yes. And who don't lift you. You want to be around people who lift you up, not the other way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. So where can people find you on Instagram? You are Gabrielle
Life Coaching. So gabrielle.life.coaching.
Okay.
Instagram handle. Yeah, please come to my profile, message me. There's a link to my website on my Instagram. So that's definitely the best place to find me.
Awesome. This was really fun. I love talking to you. I'm so glad we met. I don't know how we found each other, but we did.
The universe connects people, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We find people.
And I just loved your profile and all your little posts and your hiking and all the things. And I'm like, she's cool. And you're just putting yourself out there, and it's really a courageous and beautiful thing. So I love it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me and trusting me to be on this podcast. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the support. And I've loved this conversation.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, this has been amazing. I mean, this is what it's all about, being empowered, living empowered.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you again. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Empowered the Podcast. It means so much to me that you are here, that you're listening. I hope you learned something. I hope you found value. If you enjoyed it, please share with someone you think would benefit from it. If you'd like to connect with me, feel free to contact me on Instagram at Linda Brand Coach or Linda Brand Homes. You can also find me on Facebook. I would love to hear from you. Send me a message. Also, I'm happy to do a free discovery call if you're looking for a coach. I would love that. Also, if you could leave a rating and review, I would love that. It would help me so much to grow this audience and help as many people as I can. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day and live empowered. Thank you.